Thursday, the 19th of December, everyone, welcome to your Frontier of the Bell. I am Bosin Omofaye. So the Santa Claus rally on the Nigerian stock markets continuing apace, as you see from Wednesday's trading. Ardell Holdings lifted the oil and gas sector. Insurance was better by 3.2%. The banking sector by 0.75%. The NGX index, broadly speaking, still cruising very strongly above the 100,000 level reading. All of this ahead of the next Wednesday's Christmas public holiday. And of course, the Boxing Day will also is expected to be a public holiday here in Nigeria and across the market. So you've seen investors trying to ratchet up as much as gains they can see get before the end of the week. So that's the Nigerian story, market news story. Let's move it on to see the BRVM eked out just about 0.04%. The Egyptian market bucked that in the north by 0.32%. The Nairobi stock market was in the green at 120.31 by 0.28%, just as the banks in Kenya begin to come to terms with the latest banking capital requirements threshold set for the next couple of years by the financial regulator, and that for a new 10 billion shillings, roughly 77 million US dollars. So the market's just coming to terms with that. The GSE was down by 0.17%. And those are just the market numbers as it were. Let's go to East Africa for today's headlines. And the big story was the banking regulation. President Ruto signed that into law already just a few days ago. Yesterday, Moody's ratings, the third largest rating agency, says the new requirement, which will take about 7 years to comply with by the year 2029, will be credit positive for banks in Kenya. About 34 banks or so in the country doing about 38 banks in Kenya doing business. They will require $77 million. That's roughly 10 billion shillings, up from the present 1 billion shillings. That's according to what Moody's released yesterday. The state of the banking sector in Kenya has the smallest banks are 21. Most of them will need additional capital between now and the year 2029. Is going to be graduated. 3 billion shillings is what is expected for all the banks to have in their kitty by the end of next year. That will move up to 5 billion by the year 2026, 7 billion by the year 2027, 8 billion by the year 2028, and of course, finally to 10 billion shillings, which is $77 million by the year 2029. The biggest deficit, according to Moody's, will be from bank, which is owned by the government. That will need additional $3.5 billion by the end of next year. Access Bank of Kenya, which has its parent company in Nigeria, will also need about 1.5 billion shillings by next year. That's according to latest report from Moody. So you can read up the rest of that on frontierafricareports.com. What else do we have? Tanzania says it resumes international gemstone auctions after a 7-year hiatus. From blood diamonds to blood minerals, DR Congo is suing Apple in France and a few other countries for the use of minerals, resources, cobalt in particular, from DR Congo in Central Africa, in the products that Apple produces. All of that is in the news. Stanbic Bank of Uganda has appointed Kalifungwa as a new CEO. We say congratulations to him. The CIC General Insurance in Kenya says it settled about 300 million shillings in relations to the floods that happened around April, May, June last year in the country. That was followed a month or so later by the protest that greeted the rejection by Kenyans of the new Finance Act for 2024 under President Ruto. So let's move on from the East African corridor and get on into the West African region. Yesterday, Renaissance Energy issued a statement that Nigeria's Minister of Petroleum Resources have approved the $1.5 billion deal with Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria. The initial SPA, which is the initial agreement, share purchase agreement deal, was signed back in January. Now expecting Mr. President to sign off finally on it, perhaps before the end of the year. Yesterday, Dangote Industries also responded to a statement from Nigeria State Oil Corporation about $1 billion deal that was being reported in the media that was given to Dangote to support his the construction of the refinery. Dangote Industries says that was not true, that it was part of the equity of $2.74 billion that the NNPC ought to provide to pick up about 20% equity stake in the company. That did not come through by the end of June, which was the deadline. That cut the equity stake of NNPC in the refinery to just about 2.7%. That was also in the news. The Bois industry also reported yesterday that it started the production of gypsum at its plant, 2,400 metric tons capacity, which is based in South Nigeria. Also in the news, MTN announced after market hours closed Wednesday that these 3 new directors will be taking office from January the 2nd, 2025. Congratulations to those 3 individuals joining the board of the telco giant. For the rest of the region, Senegal is looking at negotiating new debt maturities with investors, part of the debt and budget conversations for most of this week from the AFDB's new Debt Management Forum for Africa initiative held in Nigeria's political capital, Abuja. Cocoa prices soared beyond the $12,000 per metric ton to a fresh record high because of supply concerns in 2 biggest cocoa producing countries in West Africa, Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. Of course, they account for about 80% of the total global cocoa production. Barry Corporation in Mali says it's filing for an international arbitration to resolve the face-off between the company at the mining firm and the military junta in Mali because of the mining dispute. Some of the gold being produced has been seized. Barry Cole says it's likely going to shut down production if that continues, and is filing for requesting for an international arbitration to wade into that matter. I'm taking that straight to Southern Africa because South Africa has shut about 1,041 mom and pop stores so far this year because of food debts in the Southern African economy. Angola to the southern, to the western corridor of the Southern African region and the United Arab Emirates that they have a new terms of reference for economic partnership between the 2 countries in the east, or the Middle East to Southern Africa. Zimbabwe looking at Mukuru Financial Services. The authorities reported late Wednesday that they have licensed the financial services firm to undertake micro banking, deposit money, microfinance banking services, and we'll see how that will take Mukuru Financial Services further within that region. No good news, however, for the island of Mauritius and moving towards part of Mozambique from Cyclone Chido, leaving debt and damage hundreds of millions of dollars in those 2 particular regions. We hope everyone gets safe and stay safe and away from that particular natural disaster. Let's get off to the North African market. Egypt reporting annual core inflation of about 23.7% in November. The Central Bank of Egypt is hosting the first meeting of African Financial Stability Center. That's in the news. In the meantime, British Petroleum-led Prime Minister Mohammed Shehbaz has arrived in Cairo for the D8 summit. The minister from Pakistan is attending the D8 summit in Cairo. British Petroleum is also looking to do further that of its green hydrogen project in Cairo, in Egypt, and says that will be done mostly and open to the private sector to support. Finally, in the region, Morocco is looking for 1.8 million cubic meters of petrol storage by the year 2030. It says it's going to be able to put all of that together. So you've got whole of Frontier Africa headlines to cover for you this Thursday as we move towards the weekend. It's been very busy for everyone as we look ahead to the holidays. And finally, of course, you have that in the news. U.S. Central Bank yesterday cut interest rate by 25 basis points and signaling there's going to be fewer rate cuts in the new year, 2025 into 2026. Keep that in mind as we move on to the rest of the day. I am Bosin Alfaidu. Have a great day, everyone.